Welcome back to Sports Hop. You already know what time it is. It's your boy Mack B. I'm back at it. I'm back in the building. Episode 61. I'm so excited. And speaking of being excited, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the love and support here at Sports Hop. We are building and we are growing together. It is official. Now, without further ado, we're going to dive in. We got a whole lineup of things to discuss. We're going to start with the NBA Finals. What a great series thus far. Nobody really gave the Pacers a chance in game one. I honestly didn't think they were going to win game one when I was watching them, particularly in that first half when they had 19 turnovers. But they were only down by 12. Oklahoma City was the more aggressive team getting to the rim. But the Pacers made adjustments. That's the biggest thing I love about Indiana and their coaching staff is the minute you think you got the Pacers on the ropes, that's when they thrive, and that's when they play their best basketball. So shout out to the Indiana Pacers. They came all the way back. They were down 15 points in the fourth quarter. But, then Naismith stepped up. Nembhard really stepped up his game. Obi Toppin, Turner was contributing. You had everybody involved. But Haliburton is the heartbeat of the team. The minute he gets the ball, he does his thing. He went into the lane and he actually hit a mid-range jumper to win it 111 to 110. So the Thunder, definitely, were on their heels and were kind of, I think they were stunned. I thought they had the game won and maybe they thought they had the game won a little bit too soon. It's not over until the clock strikes zero, especially with this Pacers team. The way that they're coached by Carlisle, I love his coaching acumen. I love his leadership. He's a player's coach. He won a title in Dallas with the Mavs a little bit over 10 years ago. So Rick Carlisle knows what he's doing, but they've got a nucleus and a young roster that definitely feels like anytime they step on the court, they have a shot to beat you, right? So the Thunder were shell-shocked. They were upset at home, 111 to 110. I still like the Thunder in game two to win it. But in terms of the series, I think the Pacers are on to something, and I think Indiana is going to shock the world, and they're going to win the NBA Finals. And I think especially if they can cut down and mitigate the mistakes, they had 25 turnovers in that game. The reason why they won that game is they scored 66 points in the second half. That's number one. Number two, they were more aggressive on offense. They were mitigating their turnovers and their mistakes, and they were attacking the paint. So anytime you get into the paint, you collapse the defense, they got to respect you, right? And I think that the Thunder were caught off guard, particularly when they switched their starting lineup. They went small, which played into the hands of the Pacers, particularly in the second half, right? So shout out to the Pacers. I just love their swag. I like what they're doing right now. They've taken home court advantage. So no matter what happens in game two, Indiana's going back home. They're going to basically have home court advantage. If Indiana goes up 2-0 or goes up 2-1, I'm not saying it's over for the Thunder, but they're in trouble because the Pacers, to me, feel like a team of destiny. They're well coached. They're disciplined. They're never out of the game. Those boys can light you up from the outside. They can go to the rim, particularly with Siakam and Turner. So I do like what they're doing in Indiana. I think it's a great story. Solomon, this is a finals where we're not used to seeing, two teams from the Midwest or the middle of the country going at it for an NBA trophy and an NBA title. But I kind of like it. Something different. It's something fresh. People are saying the ratings are down. That remains to be seen. I know game one was a hell of a game to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think all of Indiana really, really liked it, right? Particularly Reggie Miller and all the Pacer fans and Pacer Nation. But shout out to the Pacers making it happen. Interesting stat in the postseason, the 2025 NBA playoffs. Tyrese Haliburton, when the game's on the line and either they got to win it with a shot or tie the game in the last 15 seconds, Haliburton is 4 for 4. This is just in one postseason. This is not his career, by the way. This is 2025. He is definitely developed, to me, into a superstar. I don't know what your definition of superstar is, but when the game's on the line and you got the ball in your hands and they ask you to close and they ask you to deliver and he delivers the goods 4 different times in the postseason within a month span, yeah, he's superstar status. So shout out to Tyrese Haliburton, his dad, who's just as passionate as any father I've ever seen, the entire Pacer Nation, the organization. So it's only one game, but that was a huge win for the Pacers. I love their style of play, particularly in the second half. They were stretching the floor, and they were basically in transition. They were getting on the ball and really moving down the court at a fast pace. They didn't allow the defense to set all the time for the Thunder. So those were the keys to the victory, in my opinion. You know, going into the paint, the defense has to honor you. They collapsed the defense in transition. They were moving the ball at a quicker rate. The Thunder couldn't always get set defensively. So I love what the Pacers are doing, what Carlisle is building. This is like, you know, one of those Hoosier moments, right? Like an American dream story with Indiana. I hear you chirping in the background. But what are your thoughts here with Haliburton and the Pacers? You think they're on to something, Solomon? Do you think they've got a viable shot to win it all? I honestly think they do.
Well, I think they have a chance, of course. But it's funny to think about Haliburton. This is a guy who rode the bench in the Olympics, right? I mean,
didn't play at all,
didn't
really.
Play, really, right? I mean, he was. You think about the scrubs on the team. He was the scrubs of the Olympic team, and here he is just willing his team to victory after victory, going through these playoffs. But you know, I still think the Thunder are the better team, and I think this was a slap in the face with them. They sort of cruised through the regular season. I think they had a swagger about them, and I think they thought they were going to just sort of roll over this team, and I think they got slapped in the face. Yeah. But I think it's a wake-up call. So right. I expect them to come out and possibly dominate. I mean, these games have been close, but I would like to see them dominate in game 2. And then I think ultimately they will still pull it out. I just think it's the Thunder's time. I know they're tired of people saying, "Oh, we're a young team," and you know they're too young to no playoff experience, all this stuff. I think they feel they're ready, and I think they're going to play their brand of basketball.
Well, shout out to the Thunder. We shall see how it plays out. And speaking of Oklahoma City, let's talk about, you know, the executive vice president of the organization and also the GM, Sam Presti. Sam Presti was named the executive of the year in 2025 in the NBA. He certainly deserved it. He's made all the right moves. He facilitated a lot of major blockbuster trades. That Paul George trade, they're still eating. I mean, they're still eating off of that Paul George deal. They still have 3 first-round picks coming. The Thunder are loaded more than that baked potato at Wendy's. You feel me? I'm getting kind of hungry, so shout out to Wendy's as well. But at the end of the day, the Thunder aren't going anywhere. Let's just say, hypothetically, they don't win it all. And let's say the Pacers shock the world, okay? The Thunder easily in the next 2 to 3 NBA seasons, I would not be surprised if they make the finals and go back-to-back. I'm not saying back-to-back wins, but I'm saying in terms of finals appearances, I would not be surprised in the next 3 to 4 years if we could get used to seeing the Thunder right there at the end. But I do believe if they don't win it this year, they've got a great shot next year and going into 2027 as well. But we're not going to put the cart before the horse. I'm just merely stating that Sam Presti has done a great job. Now, if they don't get it done this year, many people will deem the Thunder season as a failed season because they didn't win the chip. I don't necessarily look at it that way. I think the Thunder have grown right before our very eyes. They are a young team. They are well coached. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not only the league MVP. You got both Jalen Williams. You got Chet Holmgren, who's back from an injury that he suffered last year. You've got some good role players on that team. So I really believe that the Thunder are going to be a threat, and they're going to be something that's going to be reckoned with for years to come. But shout out to the Pacers. I mean, winning that game, Haliburton pulling up with a mid-range jumper with 0.3 seconds left. That was the one and only time the Pacers led the entire game. 19 turnovers in the first half, down by 12. Were outplayed, but they cleaned up their mistakes in the second half. Carlisle made the adjustments, and the Thunder, basically were shell-shocked. I don't think the Thunder saw that coming. But, just ask the Milwaukee Bucks and the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers about the drip game in Indiana, because those boys come to play. It's never over until it's officially over. So you can't sleep on the Pacers. No lead is safe with that team. But props to Carlisle, Haliburton, Naismith, Nembhard, who had a great game. A lot of these Canadian players, are truly ballers. I never frowned on the Canadian players coming out of Canada, but more than ever, with Gilgeous-Alexander winning the MVP, he's from Canada. Nembhard is from Canada. You've got a lot of great players that play well. Lou Dort is from Canada as well for the Thunder. So the Canadian development of players, they're definitely doing their thing up there. So shout out to Canada and what they got going on. We are going to move on. We are headed to the Big Apple. And I don't know how many times I've referenced the Big Apple as being spoiled and rotten. That apple is rotten. I'm not happy with the New York Knicks. How in the hell do you let Tibbs go? Tom Thibodeau, great players coach. I think he's a great defensive-minded coach. Last 2 seasons led the Knicks to 50-plus wins. His all-time record in the playoffs, he was 24-23 with the Knicks. But the Knicks got further to the Eastern Conference Finals, something they hadn't done in 25 years. Okay, they beat the defending champions, the Boston Celtics. Okay, they did definitely take the Pacers to 6 games. The first 2 games that they lost at home pretty much was their demise. After going down 0-2, I didn't think the Knicks had enough horsepower to win 4 out of 5 against Indiana. But nonetheless, I got to commend Tom Thibodeau and the job that he did this year. You know, he was heavily criticized for playing his starters way too much. Yeah, could he have utilized the bench more and had like Landry Shamet come in the game more and some of these other players, Mikal Bridges, come off the bench? Yeah, he could have did that. But at the end of the day, the Knicks gave up 4 first-round unprotected picks for Mikal Bridges. Tom Thibodeau wasn't involved in that decision. Okay, go talk to Leon Rose. Go talk to James Dolan, the owner. Tom Thibodeau was basically guilty by association because he didn't have any influence. He did not bring in Karl Anthony Towns, who actually was a good force in the playoffs for New York, despite being hurt. He was a force to be reckoned with at the rim. I like how he would penetrate the lane. He made a lot of things happen, but he was playing at best maybe 50 to 60% of himself because he was banged up with that knee. So he was heavily injured and compromised. Coach Tibbs didn't have any influence or control over Karl Anthony Towns coming into the organization. He had no decision-making capability in terms of them giving up those 4 unprotected first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. So you got to give the man not only his flowers, you got to give him his props and his respect. I don't know what the hell Leon Rose was thinking and James Dolan, but Dolan, I'm not surprised because he's ran that franchise into the ground for many years. And the Knicks fans are very passionate. They got a hungry fan base. They deserve better. Tom Thibodeau deserves better. I mean, all time, the man has only won 578 games and lost 420 games. His winning percentage is about 58%. So he knows how to coach basketball. He won't be unemployed for very long. But who are you going to go get, New York, that's going to do just as good of a job, if not better, than Tom Thibodeau? Who are you going to get? Mike Malone? You think he's the answer? I don't think so. The one guy that I do like that has been ignored for years, and I have no idea why he hasn't been on the radar, a former player, a former Knick, is Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson knows basketball. He knows the X's and O's of the game. I think he's totally relatable as a player's coach, but he knows basketball. He's from New York. He bleeds Knicks blue and orange. I think that would be the perfect candidate for the Knicks, despite the fact that they can't get out of their own way and they keep making these terrible decisions within the organization because Tom Thibodeau, again, you beat the defending champions. Now, many think that what if Boston hypothetically won that series and the Knicks lost in 7 games? Chances are Coach Tibbs probably would still be in New York. But you knock off the defending champions, okay? Then you lose to the Pacers in 6 games, but you turn things around. Things are on the up and up in New York. Basketball and winning tradition is back in New York. Well, I got news for you in case you've been sleepwalking. Tom Thibodeau is a big reason why the Knicks are relevant again. He's a big reason why in back-to-back seasons they won 50-plus games. He's a big reason why they knocked off the defending champion Boston Celtics. I don't want to hear it. Don't sip the haterade. I don't want to hear the fact that Jason Tatum went down in Game 5. Okay, because the bottom of the line is, Game 4. The Knicks were going to win that game anyway because they were up by 14 or 15 with under 2 minutes left in the game when he tore his Achilles. So I don't want to hear the fact that if Tatum wouldn't have got hurt, it would have been a different outcome. The Knicks were out playing the Celtics. They beat them both times in Boston in the first 2 games of the series. They deserved to win that series. The big thing that hurt them was they had those mental lapses in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't make free throws in Game 1 to seal the game. And the Pacers came all the way back. And in Game 2, the same thing. They had a lot of defensive lapses, a lot of questionable decisions on the floor. And, coaches get paid to coach. Players get paid to play. So sometimes you can't always put the blame on the head coach if players fail to do what they're supposed to be doing and what they get paid to do. So at the end of the day, props and respect to you, Coach Tibbs. I love your style. I love your passion. I love your defensive prowess as a head coach. You will be working soon. And I still can't believe the Knicks' terrible decision-making within that organization in terms of what they did. Solomon, what are your thoughts on this situation in the Big Apple? Because it has spoiled, in my book, once again, that apple has turned rotten. I don't like what they did to Coach Tibbs. I think they did him dirty.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Mark Jackson because I think the Knicks are looking for a Golden State Warriors type of situation where you have a coach who takes a team to a certain point and then they want to bring in somebody else to take them over the top.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson, of course, was that unfortunate person who was replaced by
Steve Kerr.
And, who basically, people say he just basically walked in and took over a winning team. And I think that's what they're looking for here. And I don't know where they're going to get. I agree with you. It's like, who are you going to go after when you get a guy who has a player's coach? I don't care what anybody says.
Jalen Brunson loved coaching.
Yeah, he's a player's coach, and people respect him, and he's gritty and all of this. It makes you think that it was a internal decision, and of course with the Knicks organization, you're going to think that anyway. That maybe you didn't get along with somebody, maybe you pissed somebody off or whatever it was. But yeah, how do you have a season the Knicks had? The Knicks are finally legitimate. The last 2 years, I was
brink of the finals.
Yeah, I was unhappy to see Isaiah Hartenstein be let go, or it was a trade, I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought he was a real strong part of that team, and I think he's proven it doing what he's doing in OKC. But they still had a good team, and their team is building. So I don't know how you let him go at this point. Who you gonna bring in? I don't know.
Yeah, questionable decisions as always by the Knicks from an organizational standpoint. But props to Coach Tibbs. I love your passion. I love your style. You'll keep rocking somewhere else. And speaking of rocking and rolling, we're going to head to the Steel City. The Pittsburgh Steelers have made it official. They signed Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year deal, reportedly worth about $13 million. Questionable call. Again, we've got Aaron Rodgers delaying, waiting around, maybe in a dark cave or a dark room with some mushrooms or whatever the hell he partakes in. But waiting around disrespectfully and then finally making a decision at 40 to 41 years of age that you want to continue your playing career, which is in decline, by the way. So I'm not happy with this decision by Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. I know they didn't have many options in terms of Mason Rudolph, but in my opinion, they could have gotten some quarterbacks in the draft and build through the draft. I don't like this move at all. Aaron Rodgers has no cohesion, no chemistry with any of these players. It's kind of like similar to the Jets situation. But now you've got an aging quarterback who's in his early 40s. He never wants to take accountability for anything, particularly when he makes a lot of the mistakes and turns the football over. Pittsburgh is definitely in trouble, in my opinion. You're playing in the AFC North. Let's break down the division real quick, in case y'all forgot. You got the Baltimore Ravens in that division with Lamar Jackson. I don't think the Ravens are going to take a step back. They still got Derrick Henry. They still got some outstanding receivers. And defensively, they made some adjustments for the better. So you've got Baltimore in that division. You got the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I know defensively, there's a lot of holes to fill, and Cincinnati doesn't have the best defense, not only in the division, particularly in the NFL, but they can outscore you. And I don't think the Steelers have enough horses on offense to hang with the Bengals. They always play tough games because they're a division rival. But at the end of the day, between the Ravens and the Bengals, you've got teams that are better. They're superior, not only at the quarterback position, but I also think, on the outside, the receiver core in Cincinnati, the receiver core in Baltimore is better. I just think Pittsburgh, particularly now, with some changes, I think they're going to rebuild, even if that's not their intention. I think this is the first year, and if I'm not mistaken, Mike Tomlin has had 18 consecutive winning seasons. I think this is the first year that Mike Tomlin does not have a winning record. And there'll be a lot of question marks and a lot of decisions that Pittsburgh will have to make at the end of the 2026 campaign, particularly if they don't make the playoffs and win a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game in 9 years, by the way. I'm not keeping count, but the bottom line is, the reality is the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 9 years. Mike Tomlin, as great of a coach as he is, I think that they need to basically develop through the draft, get some younger guys in there that can throw the football. They don't have to be a first-round draft pick. Look at Brady, who was drafted, I believe, in the 6th round. Look at Sanders, who may be the future of the league. He fell all the way to the 5th round. So there's a lot of diamonds in the rough in the draft. You just got to have the right people organizationally, the right people scouting out the right talent, and the right decisions have to be made within the organization. But I think Aaron Rodgers is old. I think he's bitter. I think he's fading in terms of his skill set. I don't think he's the answer in Pittsburgh. I think they should have went in a different direction. I know Mason Rudolph is not going to shock the world, but he's never had a year where he started a full season. So how do we realistically know what we're getting out of Rudolph if he wasn't available to play? So at the end of the day, Pittsburgh has some holes to fill, definitely not just under center, but offense. Watt, who's always great as a defensive end and an edge rusher, he has a lot of injury issues. He gets hurt a lot. We'll see what happens. I have yet to really thoroughly go through their schedule and see who Pittsburgh has got coming, particularly in the first month of the season. I do know they play the Jets in week 1. The NFL kind of knew some things, Solomon, that we didn't know. But Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He's won MVP multiple times, but he couldn't get it done in Green Bay, particularly the last 8 to 10 years that he played there. I mean, you lose to Seattle in an NFC championship game on the road. You lose to the San Francisco 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo as the starting quarterback. I believe they put up 9 or 10 points at home in that game. You lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC championship game to the great Tom Brady, but you were in that football game and you had a chance in the end on the 7-yard line to get it done. That's another discussion for another day, but we all know what I'm talking about when it comes to Aaron Rodgers when he had his tenure with the Packers. So he's had many opportunities to get over the hump, to win more than one NFL title, but he failed to deliver. He did not close the deal. And I don't see anything changing here. I think Pittsburgh is in trouble. I think Rodgers eventually will be a distraction. And I'm not hating. I'm just stating what I see. And proof is in the pudding. I mean, look at what happened the last 2 years in New York. To his defense, he got hurt, in 4 plays in 2 years ago with the Jets. But last year, he didn't light up the world. It was just a grease fire in New York. But Solomon, what are your thoughts here on Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you think it's a win situation for Pittsburgh, or do you think it was a mistake? I personally think it was a mistake.
See, and I'm going the other direction, because I think
obviously always going against me.
Yeah. Just in this one, because when you have an older quarterback, if you can protect him and if you have a decent running game and you have some good wide receivers, he can still perform.
Najee Harris is gone.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at their starting lineup right now. They have Jalen Warren at running back. He rushed for 511 yards last year. Not much, but running backs, I think, if you have a good offensive line and you can protect the quarterback, I think he can do it. And remember, like you said, Aaron Rodgers has playoff experience. He is a Super Bowl champion. He has won at a high level.
Won, literally.
Okay.
Pun intended.
Okay.
He's won one title in 20 years?
Yeah, but
one title in 20 years.
But I think with this team,
as great as he is or was,
I think with this team, it's a better fit than the Jets. And so I feel like Pittsburgh thinks, that they can get something done this year if they can keep him healthy. So, and it may be too that they're waiting for next year. I don't know who's coming out of college next year, but they may be waiting to do that because they know they have to rebuild. Or maybe they're going to wait and see how some of these drafted quarterbacks do, this year and make a trade for somebody. But I don't know. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to still have a winning season. Winning season. I'm just going to say winning season.
Winning season. Oh, what does that mean? 8 wins? That's a winning season? Going under 500, being 8-9?
No.
Because that's my prediction. They're going to win 8 games and lose 9.
No.
And I'm being kind.
I think they'll go 10 games.
No, it's not going to happen. But listen, if I was Pittsburgh, first of all, you shouldn't have let Justin Fields walk. Justin Fields is a young, talented, athletic quarterback who can not only throw the football, he's got a great arm, he can stretch the field, he can beat you with his legs. Something that Aaron Rodgers cannot do. If you're on the goal line, okay, with Justin Fields under center for Pittsburgh, chances of you scoring with a quarterback sneak are heavily greater than Aaron Rodgers at 41 trying to get the ball into the end zone. And no disrespect to Aaron Rodgers. He had a great career. You were a great player at one point in time, but Father Time is undefeated last time I checked. And I think it's time for him to hang up his cleats, go into a dark cave somewhere, hang out with some hot chick like you've been doing for years, and just see what you can do. Because your dating life is very similar to your play on the field. It's been very erratic and inconsistent. But that's just my opinion. Now, moving on. We are headed to Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. A lot of controversy with the draft. He fell all the way to the 5th round. A lot of people are saying that he basically fumbled the interviews with some of these organizations, particularly the New York Giants. And I thought the Raiders had an interest in Shedeur at one point, but I was shocked to see him dip and go all the way to the 5th round before Cleveland finally picked him up. But the allure of Shedeur is what I'm calling it, okay? The allure of Shedeur sounds like a good little cologne, so I want my royalties, Shedeur, if you make that move, right? But the allure of Shedeur in Cleveland, he's definitely the talk of minicamp, rookie minicamp. I like what he's been doing in the clips and the highlights that I've been watching. He's been poised. He's been throwing the ball in tight windows. He's been reading the defense. I know it's just kind of a light workout. It's not anything serious. But his commitment to staying after practice, getting in additional reps, praising all the other rookies and all the other players on the team, thanking the organization for giving him an opportunity. I already see a maturation process here, Solomon. I like what Shedeur is doing. I like his mindset. I like his attitude. And sometimes you can be heavily humbled, right? If you think you're the top dog, or if you think you're the man, and you think you're going to be in that spotlight within the first few minutes of the NFL draft, and then you got to wait 3 days later to get picked, sometimes that brings a level of humility that is much needed. I don't know Shedeur personally. I know his father, who's a legendary player and a great coach, Coach Prime, raised his kids right. He's a family man. He's a man of faith, a man of God. So I know that Shedeur has a lot of good qualities, a lot of good intangibles that maybe other people don't see. But this is what the American dream is built on, right? There's obstacles, there's controversy, there's roadblocks. Life would be too easy if we could just get whatever the hell we wanted. And that's not how it works, okay? Especially in the dating world, all you single fellas watching the show, you know what time it is. But at the end of the day, I believe in Shedeur Sanders. I watched him extensively, not only at Jackson State. I watched him play, in Colorado, playing under his dad, who was the head coach and still is, Coach Prime. He won a lot of games. He made a lot of big throws and key moments. He showed a lot of growth, a lot of maturity, and he was hit and sacked more than any other player in college football. But what did he do? He always got back up. He laced up his cleats. He put his chin strap on tight, and he kept competing. He kept fighting. So I think the Browns do have a quarterback situation brewing. They did draft Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. I believe he went in the 3rd round. I'm already seeing Shedeur outplaying Gabriel in mini camp, so I think Shedeur's got the edge over him. Joe Flacco, the veteran, they signed him to a 1-year contract. We'll see what he can do. He's been bounced around the league. Had a lot of great years with the Ravens. Won a Super Bowl with Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken, with the Ravens. He did win a title, but Cleveland's got some decisions to make. Their quarterback room, you still got Deshaun Watson, who to me is in decline big time. And he's coming off a torn Achilles. That's a major injury. He's not going to play until probably, December, January, maybe. And the Browns aren't going to be playing much in January anyway because they're not going to make the playoffs. So is Stefanski the answer at head coach? I'm not a big fan of Stefanski, but, props to him. Maybe they can turn things around. I think organizationally, Cleveland is trying to get better. Just imagine if they didn't give up that 2nd pick in the draft and they stayed where they were instead of giving it to Jacksonville, who traded up and got the great Travis Hunter. Imagine if the Browns would have just drafted Hunter at number 2, because Shedeur would have still been available in the 5th round. So then you would have had Shedeur, who played extensively with Travis Hunter, on the same team. Now you had an upgrade not only at quarterback, but in the secondary, as well as on the outside when it comes to receiver depth. So it didn't happen that way, but I always like to, walk that scenario out just to see what would that have looked like. But I do believe at some point during this season, Solomon, and everybody watching the show, pay attention, Cleveland fans. I believe Shedeur is not only going to make the team, I think that he's going to start at some point, not in the beginning of the year, but maybe like around the 8 to 10 week mark. I hope that Flacco stays healthy, but let's say hypothetically, Flacco gets hurt and you got to bring in a backup. I think Shedeur will be the guy. I think his number will be called. Or if Flacco has poor play on the field, I think you make a change. No later than week 8 or 10, because these guys got to learn, they got to develop. Cleveland still has to get it together. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. I think the Browns are going to be a mediocre team, to be honest with you. I think they win maybe 6 to 7 games, and I'm being kind with that number. What are your thoughts, Solomon, on Cleveland? Shedeur Sanders slipping all the way to the 5th round. Do you think there's any merit to that? Do you think that he basically dug his own grave, so to speak, and dipped down because of his interviews that he allegedly failed? And again, I'm not saying that was the case. That those are the allegations. So
Right.
What are your thoughts on that Sanders situation? And do you think that him dropping in the draft allowed a level of humility and maybe a little bit more urgency for him in terms of being a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Well, there's lots of different reasons why he would drop in the draft. I think teams are looking at the amount of, disruption having someone like Deion Sanders involved with the whole organization can bring. I think, there probably were some issues with his interviews, but you know what? We've had arrogant players before, and as long as they can put up, the numbers, they've done well. And I think teams will put up with that. I know teams aren't putting up with the flashy, wide receivers and stuff like that anymore, but I don't think this was the situation. You had a guy who had some good numbers in college and he was coming out and,
Right.
And he could play the game and he was projected to go high. So, I don't know what those reasons would be, but I would think a lot of it had to do with just disruption. People just didn't want to deal with that. But I agree with you. I think he will play this year. If you look at their quarterback room, you got Joe Flacco, who, had a chance to start in Indy last year, right? And he got benched, right? I believe he got benched, and they brought in the quarterback that wanted to rest after a play or something like that.
Richardson,
right.
Yeah.
And so they brought him back in, and it was supposedly teaching him a lesson or whatever. I heard that story, but he got benched. So I don't know that he's the answer, and I agree with you. I think Shedeur can outplay the guy they drafted at number 3 in the 3rd round, and
Dylan
Gabriel, and then who knows what's up with Deshaun Watson. I think they really want to try to unload him. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut him and take a loss.
Yeah. A lot of dead money being eaten.
Yeah.
Cleveland made a huge mistake in that particular situation. But back to Shedeur, I do want to say this. I do think that some league owners and teams, they viewed it probably as a distraction to bring him on board because of who his father is, the legendary Coach Prime, aka Deion Sanders, who just lit up the league for many years and was a great player, and he was a winner. He was a champion. I do believe that Shedeur is a winner. I do believe that he is a much more valuable quarterback than dropping all the way to the 5th round. I think that's a slap in the face. He should have went. The very latest Shedeur Sanders should have went is the end of the 1st round, in my opinion. And even then, I thought he was going in the top 5 picks. It didn't happen. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's got a level of humility, but I think he has a deeper and a much more greater, profound respect, for that position, for the league. Not to say that he didn't care before, because he did, but sometimes you got to go through some heartache and some disappointment to become stronger and be more resilient. So at the end of the day, props to the Browns for giving him an opportunity. Props to Coach Prime for raising such a great and talented young man. Also props to his brother Shiloh, who's over there at Tampa with the Buccaneers. They're giving him a shot to make the team, on the defensive side of the football. So I certainly am rooting for both Shedeur and Shiloh to do big things. But I think Shedeur will be starting for the Cleveland Browns at some point this season. Don't be surprised after week 8 or 9 or 10 that he's under center, unless Flacco's just lighting it up and the Browns have a winning record. But other than that, the NFL season is only about 90 days away. Time certainly does fly, especially when you're having fun. So for everybody watching the show, we appreciate the love and support. This is episode 61. Make sure you tap in and follow your boy on the gram at Mack B, MACKB as in boy _, at Sports Hop Media, all one word, Sports Hop Media. We appreciate the love, respect. We out. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy Mack B.